Chosen one, something is happening behind closed doors that you need to know about right now. There's a court date with your name on it that you've never heard about. But before you start panicking, understand this: they need you not to know, because the moment you walk into that courtroom, and you will, their entire house of cards comes crashing down. But that's just the beginning of what I need to tell you, because what's really happening goes so much deeper than missing paperwork and legal proceedings. The people who should have delivered that notification, they're part of it. The system that was supposed to protect you, it's been weaponized against you. And the person you trusted most, the one you cared for with such genuine love, they knew exactly what they were setting in motion when they put your name in those documents. But here's the part that's going to blow your mind. Even they didn't realize they were actually saving your life. Hold on to that thought, because we're about to dive into something that connects corrupt officials, supernatural forces, and their inheritance that triggered a murder conspiracy. And somehow, impossibly, you're still breathing because of a protection so powerful that even darkness itself refuses to cross it. People who took oaths to serve and protect are sitting in secret meetings discussing you. These aren't street criminals. These are the people whose faces smile at you from campaign posters, the ones who cut ribbons and shake hands and promise to serve the community. Right now, as you're watching this, some of them are probably in emergency meetings, realizing their perfectly crafted plan has become their death sentence. Because here's what they didn't tell you about that inheritance coming your way. It's not just money, it's evidence, it's connections. It's the key that unlocks a criminal empire that reaches into city halls, courthouses, and offices you drive past every day without suspecting the evil that operates behind those official facades. There's something even more terrifying they're dealing with right now. Remember when I mentioned supernatural forces? These officials, these trusted pillars of the community, they made a deal with something that doesn't honor contracts with humans. Something that's been watching you, studying you, and has come to a conclusion about you that's going to save your life in the most unexpected way. You see, they thought they could hire divine hitmen, but what they actually did was sign their own souls away for absolutely nothing, because the entity they bargained with took one look at you and said, "Do you have any idea who you're asking us to touch?" And that's when their perfect plan became their perfect nightmare. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, you need to understand how deep this rabbit hole goes, because the person you cared for, the one who left you everything, they weren't just grateful for your service. They were something else entirely. Every day you showed up to work, thinking you were just doing your job, changing bandages, administering medication, providing comfort to someone in their final days. You had no idea you were actually in the presence of something ancient, something powerful, something that exists between realms and wears human form like a carefully crafted disguise. They watched you during those long shifts. They saw how you treated them when you thought no one was looking. They witnessed your genuine compassion when you were exhausted, your authentic care when you were overwhelmed, your persistent kindness even when they were difficult. And slowly, impossibly, something that shouldn't be capable of human emotion began to feel something that terrified every force of darkness: respect for a mortal. Now here's where it gets really wild, and I need you to stay with me because this is crucial to understanding why you're still alive. This being, this entity wearing human flesh, they didn't just appreciate your care, they fell in love with your spirit. Not romantic love, something deeper. They recognized in you a purity of purpose, a connection to source, an anointing so authentic that even creatures of darkness are compelled to honor it. So when they made arrangements to leave you their earthly possessions, they weren't just being generous, they were creating a spiritual tripwire. Because they knew, oh they knew, that the moment word got out about your inheritance, every greedy, corrupt, evil person in your vicinity would reveal themselves by coming for what was now yours. Here's the part that's going to make your head spin. They also knew these corrupt officials would be desperate enough to make a deal with their own kind, And when darkness makes a deal with darkness about touching someone who carries light like you do, well, let's just say the results are about to become very, very public. Right now, at this very moment, there are eyes on you. Professional surveillance, but here's the thing that's driving them crazy. They can't get close enough to do what they need to do without you picking up on their presence. They're discovering that hunting someone who's truly anointed is like trying to sneak up on someone who has eyes in the back of their head, ears that hear beyond sound, and a spirit that's networked with intelligence sources they can't identify or intercept. But there's another layer of surveillance happening that's about to flip this entire situation on its head. Because while corrupt humans are clumsily trying to track your movements, there are other entities, ancient, powerful, and operating under orders that supersede human authority, who are also watching, not to harm you, but to ensure that anyone who tries to harm you experiences consequences so severe they'll serve as a warning to others for generations. And somewhere in the middle of all this supernatural chess game, those corrupt officials are starting to realize they've made a mistake so catastrophic that their regret is literally eating them alive. But we'll get to that in a moment, because first you need to understand the scope of what they actually tried to do to you. They had options, chosen one. So many creative ways they planned to eliminate you while making it look like anything but murder. A serial killer scenario, make it look like you were the victim of some deranged individual, so the investigation would focus on finding a madman instead of uncovering their conspiracy. The accident angle. Stage something on a mountain road, maybe a vehicle malfunction that sends you over a cliff. Tragic but unavoidable. They even considered the suicide setup, use psychological warfare, spell work, and systematic harassment to drive you to take your own life. Can you imagine the level of evil it takes to not just want someone dead, but to want them to do it themselves? They thought they could break your spirit, shatter your faith, and manipulate you into destroying yourself. But every single plan they made hit an invisible wall. Every trap they set somehow missed its target. Every weapon they forged mysteriously turned back on them. And slowly, terrifyingly, they began to realize that they weren't just failing randomly. They were being actively opposed by forces that made their human schemes look like children playing with toys. The spell work they commissioned started backfiring in ways that defied logical explanation. The accidents they tried to stage ended up happening to their own operatives. The psychological manipulation they deployed began affecting their own mental states. It was as if the universe itself was reflecting their evil intentions back onto them with compound interest. And then came the moment that changed everything. The moment they realized their supernatural allies weren't allies at all, but something far more dangerous. Cosmic forces using their greed and hatred as fuel for a justice system that operates beyond human law. This is where it gets biblical. Chosen one. The dark entities these corrupt officials thought they could bargain with. They took one look at your spiritual signature and immediately understood something these human conspirators were too blind to see. You're not just protected, you're revered across multiple realms. The forces of darkness operate on a hierarchy of power and respect that most humans never comprehend. When you carry genuine anointing, when your connection to Source is authentic and unshakable, when your purpose aligns with divine will, even entities that oppose everything you represent are bound by cosmic law to acknowledge your authority. So when these corrupt officials came asking for supernatural assistance in eliminating you, they weren't making a deal with demons, they were signing their own death warrants. Because the entities they approached looked at their request and saw an opportunity to collect multiple souls while simultaneously honoring the protection that surrounds you. The deal they thought they were making was simple: help us eliminate this person and we'll serve your purposes. But the deal they actually made was, we'll let you think we're helping while we systematically destroy you and everyone connected to you, and then we'll collect your souls as payment for your audacity in trying to touch someone under cosmic protection. You see, chosen one, you're not just spiritually gifted, you're not just divinely favored, You exist in a state of anointing so profound that even the enemy has to work within the boundaries of what's allowed regarding you. They can test you, they can challenge your faith, they can create obstacles, but they cannot ultimately harm you, because doing so would violate agreements made in realms beyond human understanding. And right now, watching these corrupt officials slowly realize they've been played by forces they thought they could control, that's not just justice, that's cosmic entertainment. Let's talk about what really triggered this entire conspiracy, because understanding this will help you grasp the scope of what's coming your way. That person you cared for, that being who appreciated your service so deeply, they didn't leave you money, they left you power. They didn't give you an inheritance, they gave you evidence. They didn't bless you with wealth, they armed you with truth. Hidden within the legal documents that make you beneficiary of their estate are records, connections, and information that expose decades of corruption, financial records that trace bribes, communication logs that reveal conspiracies, evidence that connects unsolved murders to the very officials who were supposed to investigate them. Your inheritance isn't just changing your bank account, it's changing the balance of power in your entire region. Because the moment those documents become public, and they will, the network of corruption that has operated in shadow for so long will be dragged into light so bright it burns. Right now, marriages are ending, not because of normal relationship problems, but because spouses are discovering their partners are murderers. Business partnerships that seemed solid are dissolving as people realize their associates have been funding assassination attempts. Family connections are severing as the truth about what certain relatives have been involved in comes to light. The corrupt officials who started this conspiracy never anticipated how quickly their own network would turn on them once the supernatural consequences began manifesting. When strange accidents start happening to everyone connected to a plot, when health problems with no medical explanation begin affecting all the conspirators, when financial disasters strike every family involved, paranoia sets in fast. They're turning on each other now, trying to make deals with prosecutors, attempting to minimize their own culpability by exposing everyone else's crimes. The solidarity that held their criminal enterprise together is evaporating as self-preservation kicks in, and they realize that whatever they're dealing with doesn't distinguish between ringleaders and accomplices. But what they don't understand is that the force they're truly dealing with isn't interested in their human legal maneuvering. The entity that's been orchestrating their downfall operates on a timeline and according to principles that make their desperate bargaining attempts irrelevant. They signed their souls away the moment they agreed to target you, and no amount of cooperation with earthly authorities is going to change that cosmic contract. The regret they're feeling isn't just about getting caught, it's about gradually understanding the true scope of what they've unleashed upon themselves. And that regret is about to get so much worse as the next phase of their consequences begins to unfold. The investigation that started with threats against you has become something much larger, a multi-jurisdictional probe into decades of organized crime, systematic corruption, and a murder network that spans multiple states. Bodies are being found in locations these criminals thought were secure forever, near creeks, buried in remote mountain areas, hidden in places they were certain would never be searched. Here's what's supernatural about these discoveries. The evidence is being found by people who have no logical reason to be looking in those specific locations. Hikers who suddenly feel compelled to explore areas they've never visited before. Construction workers who insist on digging in spots that don't match their blueprints. Search teams who experience intuitive nudges that lead them to precisely the right coordinates. It's as if the Earth itself is giving up its secrets, as if the universe is ensuring that every crime committed in service of trying to harm you becomes evidence in their prosecution. The very ground they used to hide their evil is becoming testimony against them. Hotel records that should have been destroyed years ago are mysteriously surfacing with check-in times that place suspects at murder scenes. Financial records that were supposedly erased are being recovered by forensic accountants who describe their discoveries as impossibly convenient. Witnesses who were intimidated into silence are suddenly finding courage they didn't know they possessed, coming forward with testimonies that corroborate each other in ways that seem divinely orchestrated. The mountain of evidence building against these corrupt officials isn't just comprehensive, it's supernatural in its completeness. Every crime, every conspiracy, every abuse of power is being exposed with a thoroughness that defies normal investigative procedures. And the most terrifying part for them, the evidence just keeps coming, as if the universe itself has opened its files and decided to download everything at once. Imagine realizing that every step you took toward what you thought was victory was actually a step deeper into your own destruction. Imagine understanding that the very forces you thought you controlled were actually manipulating you from the beginning. Imagine waking up one day to discover that your entire life, your family's future, and your soul's destiny have all been forfeited because you made the mistake of targeting someone whose protection operates in dimensions you didn't even know existed. That's the regret consuming these corrupt officials right now. Not just remorse for bad decisions, but horror at the realization that they've been played by intelligences so far beyond their understanding that their human schemes look like amateur hour in comparison. They're experiencing what happens when earthly power encounters cosmic authority, when human evil runs up against divine justice, when corruption tries to contaminate something so pure that it literally burns on contact. The regret isn't just emotional. It's becoming physical, spiritual, and supernatural as the consequences of their actions manifest across every dimension of their existence. Some are developing health problems that medical science can't explain. Others are watching their financial empires collapse through a series of coincidences that stretch the definition of probability. Relationships that took decades to build are disintegrating overnight as the truth about their activities spreads through their communities like wildfire. The deepest regret, the one that's eating them alive from the inside out, is the growing understanding that they willingly gave up their souls for absolutely nothing. They traded their eternal destinies for the chance to eliminate someone they couldn't eliminate, to steal wealth they couldn't steal, to destroy someone so protected that their very attempts at destruction became the instruments of their own damnation. What you're witnessing now is what happens when galactic intelligence decides it's time for a cleanup operation, not just of the immediate threats against you, but of the entire system of corruption that made those threats possible. This isn't just about removing a few bad actors. This is about purging a network of evil that has been interfering with larger cosmic purposes. The evidence that keeps surfacing, it's being guided by intelligence systems that monitor human activity from perspectives these corrupt officials never imagined existed. The witnesses finding courage to speak. They're being influenced by energetic transmissions that strengthen human resolve in ways that feel natural, but operate through supernatural mechanisms. The investigation expanding beyond what anyone expected. That's because when galactic forces decide to clean house, they don't limit themselves to human jurisdictions or earthly legal procedures. They coordinate with every available resource, physical, spiritual, and technological, to ensure that justice is comprehensive and permanent. Right now, Chosen One, you're watching a real-time demonstration of what happens when cosmic forces decide that a particular region has accumulated too much corruption to be tolerated any longer. These corrupt officials thought they were just dealing with local politics and regional crime networks. What they actually triggered was a cleansing operation that operates according to universal law and galactic protocol. The regret they're experiencing isn't just about ruining their human lives, it's about gradually understanding that they've attracted the attention of forces that view their entire civilization as potentially problematic. Their attempts to harm you didn't just fail, they initiated a review process that could have consequences far beyond their individual fates. As the legal processes around your inheritance move forward, you're going to discover that what you thought was a generous gift from a grateful patient is actually something unprecedented in human history, a direct transfer of resources and authority from a galactic entity to a human agent in the field. The financial assets are real, but they're the least important part of what you're receiving. Hidden within the legal documentation are access codes, contact protocols, and resource authorizations that connect you to support networks that span star systems. The property you're inheriting isn't just real estate. It's strategically positioned to support operations that serve purposes beyond anything visible to human authorities. But the most significant part of your inheritance isn't material at all. It's informational. You're receiving intelligence databases that document corrupt activities not just in your region, but globally. Communication networks that monitor criminal organizations not just on Earth but throughout multiple worlds. Resource allocation systems that can redirect planetary economics in service of cosmic justice. Your mysterious benefactor wasn't just grateful for your care, they were preparing you for a level of responsibility that would have overwhelmed you before you proved your character through service. Every day you showed genuine compassion to someone you thought was dying, you were actually demonstrating your fitness to wield power that could reshape civilizations. And the corrupt officials who tried to prevent you from receiving this inheritance, they weren't just trying to steal money, they were unknowingly attempting to interfere with a resource transfer that's part of galactic strategic planning. The forces they've attracted aren't just pursuing justice for threats against you, they're responding to what amounts to an attack on cosmic infrastructure. The legal proceedings you're about to witness will be unlike anything your judicial system has ever handled, not just because of the scope of the crimes being prosecuted, but because the investigation is being supported by evidence-gathering capabilities that operate beyond human technology. Communication intercepts that should be impossible are being presented as evidence. Financial tracking that extends into networks no human agency knew existed is being used to prove connections. Witness testimonies that corroborate each other with supernatural precision are building cases that seem too perfect to be accidental. But what's really happening is that galactic intelligence systems are interfacing with human legal processes to ensure that justice operates efficiently and completely. The evidence isn't just comprehensive, it's impossible to refute because it's being verified through multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously. Every day you wondered why you kept surviving situations that should have destroyed you, why accidents meant for you somehow missed their mark, why people who threatened you ended up facing mysterious consequences themselves. Now you understand that you've been operating under protection protocols that function across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Your safety isn't just a matter of divine favor, it's cosmic policy. Your well-being isn't just spiritually important, it's strategically critical to operations that span galaxies. Your survival isn't just blessed, it's technologically supported by civilizations that monitor Earth from perspectives these corrupt officials never imagined existed. When they made their deal with dark forces to eliminate you, they weren't just committing a crime against an individual. They were violating treaties, interfering with diplomatic protocols, and essentially declaring war on alliances that include non-human intelligences. The supernatural backlash they're experiencing isn't just spiritual consequence, it's the result of triggering automated defense systems that protect cosmic assets. Here's what's going to amaze you, Chosen One. The protection you've been experiencing all your life is about to be upgraded. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about a few individuals that shouldn't exist. A trained occultist who escaped from a satanic coven, a former Black Ops drone pilot who flew swarms with his mind, a multi-millionaire psychic CFO who predicted market shifts before they happened. What do these remarkable individuals have in common? You'll find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order, where they share their forbidden knowledge on our private Discord server. My chosen soul has drunk deep from the well of knowledge aeon after aeon. In this incarnation, these extraordinary individuals became my allies in the Obsidian Inner Order. They recognized the call, they stepped forward, they connected with others who understand their unique gifts and burdens. What is stopping you from manifesting the same? The synchronicities that brought them here weren't accidents. Neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the Archons take notice. They fear our collective power. They know what happens when the truly awakened find each other. Join our weekly calls. Hear their stories firsthand. Share your own journey with those who won't dismiss or doubt you. The knowledge exchanged in our private channels cannot be found anywhere else on this plane. Click the link in the description below now. The extraordinary souls await your arrival. The question isn't whether you belong among them. The question is, how much longer will you wait to claim your place? As this phase of your journey reaches its climax, with corrupt officials facing justice and your inheritance being finalized, you're about to learn something that will reframe every experience you've ever had. You are not just a human being who happens to be spiritually gifted. You are a galactic operative who chose to incarnate in human form to serve cosmic purposes that are now ready to be revealed. Ronpla, the travel that's coming for you isn't just geographical, it's dimensional. You're about to move, not just to new locations, but into new levels of reality where your real work can begin. The resources you're inheriting aren't just for your personal blessing, they're operational funding for missions that will serve purposes beyond anything you've imagined. The corrupt officials who tried to stop you are discovering that their regret will be permanent, their consequences irreversible, and their choices eternally binding. But for you, Chosen One, this is graduation day. You've passed tests that qualify you for responsibilities that will span worlds, serve civilizations, and advance cosmic purposes that align with divine will across multiple dimensions. The anointing you carry isn't diminishing as this chapter ends, it's expanding to accommodate new levels of authority. The protection you've experienced isn't being reduced now that the immediate threat is over. It's being upgraded to support operations that will face opposition from forces these local criminals couldn't imagine. And the regret that's consuming your enemies, it's going to serve as a warning to anyone else who might consider interfering with galactic operations. Because what they learned too late is that when you target someone who operates under cosmic protection, you're not just fighting an individual. You're declaring war on forces that span universes, serve purposes that transcend planetary concerns, and wield power that makes human authority look like children playing pretend. Welcome to the next level, Chosen One,